Good afternoon, Joel Douglas. If you've read into my writing, you know that sometimes I talk about identifying the root cause of a problem, and I don't really talk about how you would do that. The reason I don't talk about how you do it is because it really benefits to see it visually, and where I learned and taught it was at the Air Force Weapons School. We do it on whiteboards, and it's a very visual approach to identifying the root cause of a problem. First, guidelines for the approach. You cannot blame somebody else for a mistake. You're the leader of an organization, you're the instructor, you're in whatever role that you're in. If you blame somebody else for a mistake, you also give them the ability to fix the mistake, or you pass the ability to fix the mistake onto them. So when you hold it with yourself, you can say, hey, I need to identify a training program, I need to do this from an equipment standpoint, whatever that is, I need to fix this. If you give it to somebody else, if you give the blame to somebody else, you also give the ability to fix it to somebody else. Second, you'll notice in the methodology, it's a very analytical, logic-driven approach. Correlation does not equal causation. If something happened at the same time, that doesn't necessarily mean and likely does not mean that that's the root cause of your problem. Third, you have to have an instructional fix, or what we used to call an instructional fix. You have to identify something that if you take that root cause away, then you would have achieved your goal. It's a challenge. Fourth, it's a hard pill to swallow. If you do it right, you're probably going to hurt somebody's feelings because somebody made a personal choice that resulted in somewhere in the chain that resulted in the organization not achieving a goal. First, we're going to walk through the methodology. Very simple methodology. You start with an externally focused problem, and you just keep asking, why did that occur? Why? And like I said, we do this on whiteboards. I made my slides and then use Procreate to write on them, just like we're doing on a whiteboard. First, we'll walk through a simple example, then we'll talk about more complex examples. Problem. I consumed a cheeseburger meal when I had a stated goal to not consume any fast food. Remember, I said you need to make your problem externally focused. The reason you can't say, I consumed a cheeseburger meal and then start to identify why you did that was the logic just doesn't work. I consumed a cheeseburger meal. Well, why'd you do that? Well, because I was hungry and I wanted something to eat. Well, why were you hungry? Because I hadn't eaten in X amount of time. So you quickly see that doesn't really get you to something that you can fix. But if you make the problem that you fail to achieve the goal of not eating fast food, now you're not focused on you, you're focused on why did I not achieve my goal? I didn't achieve my goal because at 8 p.m. I was hungry and I had to eat and I didn't have any other food. Verbiage nuance. A lot of students, it's one of the biggest challenges the students always had. They would stop at something like, I was hungry and I had to eat. Well, again, if you go through the logic chain, that's just the same logic as I consumed a cheeseburger meal. It doesn't work out. So as an instructor or somebody that uses this methodology routinely, you'll add, and I didn't have any other food. So if you add that piece, now you have a thing you can ask why. Well, why didn't you have any other food? It was because I failed to have a nutrition plan. Why did you fail to have a nutrition plan? Because over the weekend, I didn't spend the time to prepare healthy food. Let's talk about another one. Why didn't you, over the weekend, spend the time to prepare healthy food? Because I chose to decompress or hang out with my friends. Again, it's a verbiage thing. That could be why you didn't spend the time to prepare healthy food. But that's not an actionable thing. Because how can you fix choosing to decompress and hang out with your friends? You can't choose to not hang out with your friends. It's a human function. Everybody needs to do it. So you need to reword that to be actionable somehow. So over the weekend, I didn't spend the time to prepare healthy food. Well, why is that? Because I failed to prioritize my health and nutrition. Well, why did you fail, or why did I fail to prioritize my health and nutrition? There's another reason under that. And whatever that is, that one's going to hurt your feelings. Why don't you care about yourself enough to prioritize your health and nutrition? If you're honest with yourself, that one's going to hurt your feelings. Okay, if you take that personal hurt feelings one away, then you no longer fail to prioritize your health and nutrition. You prioritize your health and nutrition. Because you prioritize it, you will over the weekend spend time to prepare healthy food. You will have a nutrition plan. At 8 p.m. you won't be hungry because you will have other food, and then you won't have failed to achieve your goal of eating no fast food. So that's the methodology. You flip the root cause around, that's your instructional fix, and then that solves the rest of the chain, and then you achieve your goal. Complex. So I once was the lead investigator for aerospace mishap, and we identified 8 causal factors during our investigation. I used the same methodology. There were ambiguous indications. Well, why were there ambiguous indications? There were teamwork missteps. Why were there teamwork missteps? The Air Force Weapons School does not teach this approach to have people not eat cheeseburgers. The Air Force Weapons School teaches this approach so that later you can identify the root cause of complex systemic problems. And you can flip all these around and say, well, if I take these 8 causal factors away, then we're not going to have another aerospace component mishap. The reality, this is a difficult approach to master, especially when you get into complex problems, because complex problems are muddy, and you have to identify causal linkages in your analytical chain. It's a tough approach. It often takes people 3 or 4 months to be really good at it, and you're probably not going to be world class at it for several years. I was WEPS officer for 15 years, and I wasn't awesome at it right away. Also, why other reasons it's hard. Sometimes students would reject the approach just because it hurt their feelings. Some people you have to grow thick skin. It's a hard thing to develop sometimes. Also, it takes repeated practice to identify an analytical, actionable correction. So to come up with an instructional fix that'll take your problem away, it's a challenging thing, and it takes practice. We talked a lot about verbiage nuance. If you wanted to chat about it, connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to engage.